Hi, everybody, and welcome to Forbes Newsroom. I'm Diane Brady, Assistant Managing Editor at Forbes, and I am here with Zach Everson, our man in D.C. for all things Trump and more. Zach, welcome. What's the latest? Let's start with the DOJ, which seems to be the gift that keeps on giving in terms of news.
Sure. Good to see you, Diane. So the Trump side and the Justice Department both submitted their picks for who the special master could be. At the end of the day, it is the judge who decides. Kind of like some sort of fantasy football draft or something along those lines. I don't know. I don't play. But the Justice Department said they were okay with one of those names on Trump's list. So it is up to the judge to decide. The judge is the same one who decided who ruled that he could get a special master anyway. So it seems likely that decision is going to be, she's not going to overrule since both parties agree with that. So we're just kind of waiting to hear on that front. And there's also the appeal that's going on. And this is really where Trump's opportunity to delay is showing up. He has until October 7th to actually respond to the appeal. And I would bet anything that we will not get a response from him until October 7th, just watching it the way he stalled out all the other lawsuits and investigations like the emoluments over his administration.
So one of the things is the ongoing impact this is having on public perceptions, both in terms of the politicization, I guess, of the DOJ, and give me some sense as to how are people generally now feeling about President Trump as a candidate, A, and then B, how is this impacting the whole perception around, the investigation itself the longer this drags on? So perhaps start with Trump.
Okay, I don't think it was going to matter whatsoever. People have had long enough to come to their own conclusions about Donald Trump. He's been a public figure since the 70s, I guess. So I can't imagine it's going to make much of a change there. In terms of the politicization, that is a tough one to say, of the judicial process is going to, I think it would have been seen as political if they didn't do it as well. It was very much seen as a political move when Gerald Ford put the party first when he pardoned Richard Nixon. People praised that decision at the time, but in hindsight, you're seeing a lot of criticism on that. A lot of other countries do prosecute ex-presidents, and they're not falling apart. South Korea, Italy, France. I mean, those are all democracies that have prosecuted ex-presidents.
One of the questions that continues to come up, perhaps separate from this, is Mar-a-Lago as a location for the presidential library. How likely is that?
I would say it'd probably be likely to be in the Mar-a-Lago area, somewhere in Palm Beach. NBC News reported recently that Trump wasn't really even focusing on the library, in that he's looking for, running and getting back to the White House rather than looking at his past presidential achievements and putting them in the library. Mar-a-Lago is doing really well for him financially. I think he bought it for around $10 million, and we valued it as worth around $350 million. It's bringing in about $20 million a year. Why mess with that and turn it into a library? But there certainly could be some financial advantage to doing so that I haven't thought about, and Donald Trump has. So who knows? But if you are eager to get there, and I know you are, the Trump Presidential Library has had a website since his last day in office, so you can just go to library.gov and check that out.
I wonder if there's a donate button. And well, let's talk about cash, because there has been a lot of attention to the cash deficit in the GOP. Is that something that can be overcome? Any signals as to how that might be changing?
Sure. I think the biggest signal is looking at the last election, where the conventional wisdom was that Sarah Gideon, Amy McGrath, and Jamie Harrison were going to become the newest Democratic senators and oust Susan Collins, Mitch McConnell, and Lindsey Graham. And as we all know, that didn't work out. All three of them had more money, spent more money, and yet they all lost. And it wasn't even really all that close in any of those races. So, money matters. Apparently what matters most is whether you're getting local donations, small dollar local from people within your district. So, somebody dumping tens of $millions into a PAC or whatever that's coming from out of state money, it's not going to hurt. It's good to get TV time. You're seeing the spending going up, but that, money doesn't necessarily denote voters' enthusiasm.
So let's look at some of the key races, Zach. So in Ohio, Tim Ryan, J.D. Vance. What are you hearing there?
Yeah, a poll came out earlier this week that showed they were within the margin of error. And, in that case, flip of the coin as to who would win right now. There's plenty of time left. We did report earlier that a lot of people investors who gave JD Vance money early on his investment days have not donated to him, which I thought was pretty interesting. But that race is a toss-up.
And if we move over to Georgia and Stacey Abrams, because that is a race where last I checked, significantly behind, Brian Kemp. What do you think are the, projections there from what you hear of pollsters?
I've seen that as well. And for this one, rather than going back to the 2020, I think if you go previously to, she almost won the governorship of Georgia not that long ago. So, it's certainly possible that she can pull it out this time. I wouldn't write her off any time until after the votes are counted.
Is there anything around the rise of Herschel Walker on the Senate front that you think tells us something about just the sort of shift in voter patterns that's happening in Georgia right now?
No, he's got big name recognition. I think it's we're seeing what we learned from Alabama with Tuberville, where they look at the old football coach, and he's had difficulty naming the three branches of government, and is now a U.S. senator. So I think that's showing that religion, as we certainly know, drives people to the ballot box, and football down south is a type of religion.
So with the midterms coming up, there is more attention, of course, to interference, part of it being foreign interference, and we've certainly heard some figures around the impact of Russia in the last election. To what extent are we both paying attention to that in the current election coming up, and also, have we perhaps mitigated against some of the threats?
I think we should be paying a ton of attention to it. I think we'll see more than what we saw in the presidential election. I think we're going to keep get more and more of meddling until we figure out a way to stop it, which it doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. But the midterms are a great opportunity to test out what you might want to do in the presidential election. And with the Senate and House potentially pretty close, there's a lot of opportunity to meddle and make a difference that would be just as significant as meddling in a presidential election.
Have the social media platforms taken steps to truly address some of these issues? Because obviously that was one of the outcomes from the past election.
Right. And that's tough to say. I've heard that they're not, acknowledging what they've done totally, because that would defeat it. If they say, hey, we figured out how to block you, well, the next move is they work around that. The foreign governments would work around that block. So I think we'll find out more about that after the election, to be honest with you. It's not something we're going to know much about in advance.
So, Zach, we're seeing this is the fundraising season, and certainly you had some stories about Mike Pompeo charging, I believe, $36,000 per couple. Is that the new norm?
It might be Mike Pompeo's new norm, but it's not what Donald Trump can get. Trump, as we reported a few weeks ago, is Super PAC is hosting a candlelight dinner at Trump National Golf Course in Bedminster, New Jersey tonight, where it is $100,000 a person. So that is significantly higher than what former Secretary of State Pompeo is getting. Although they do have an option there for $100,000. You can be a sponsor. This is for the Pompeo meal. You can be a sponsor and get some extra stuff, but you can get through the door for $36,000 a couple.
Why? I mean, at the risk of sounding naive, how are they able to charge that much, and how many people feasibly are going to pay that much?
That I don't know. We'll have to look afterwards at the campaign finance reports and see if we can track down who was there to get some sort of look at that. Also social media. I can tell you right now, I will be on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter tonight and tomorrow looking to see who's posted, to see if we can get any sort of head count there. Keeping in mind that not everybody who attended necessarily paid that $100,000. So, obviously they think they can get it. And the other thing is, if they can't, it's not like they really have egg on their face, because most people never know. So charge a lot, see if you get it, and if not, accept less.
So, Zach, it's always good to get your sense of what's on your radar in terms of what you're keeping your eye on, and what we should be keeping our eyes on, too.
My pleasure.
Great. Thank you.